Greetings and salutations everyone, I'm Akamak, this is Let's Play of the Devil. I'm still having bugs. Unfortunately, my headset has somehow gotten disconnected from my computer in such a way that if I can hear the game audio, my capture system can't. Whereas if I have it so that the capture system can hear it, and I can tell just by mousing over, it can hear this stuff, I can't hear it. So I'm just going to have to put a lot of faith in the system and figure this out in a bit. So anyway, we have done our research on Sarah. Turns out she's very expensive. For insurance purposes, you understand. We've also met this lady. She's actually the witness to when David Asher died, so we're going to have to interrogate her a bit. Anyhow, what's the CCE? You said CCE, Standard Operating Procedure, a moment ago. What is that? CCE stands for Counter-Corporate Espionage, which is just industry doublespeak for corporate espionage. Only used in self-defense, you understand? So Noble anticipates employees at your level getting poisoned? They give us all kinds of CC training. Subtly, of course, usually disguised on the itinerary as leadership workshops or psychiatric evaluations. They train you to expect to get murdered at these leadership workshops? Murder is fairly rare at our level. More likely they'll want us too sick to work. Let us drain company resources in a hospital bed while our position sits vacant. That's smart, like snipers purposefully avoiding vital areas to strain the enemy's medical resources. That's terrible, like snipers purposefully avoiding vital areas in order to strain enemy's medical resources. Glass half full, glass half empty. That's nothing compared to when they want to turn an asset. Feel ill for the rest of your life with an undiagnosed malady. We'll become our mole and we'll send you the antidote every 2 weeks. That's a nasty piece of work. It's a nasty line of work. Consulting. I'm sorry? That's just what they call it. Can't exactly put corporate spy on your CV. So every consultant I've met at a cocktail party was actually... It depends. Did they say they're consultants? Or did they say they were in consulting? How the hell am I supposed to remember? So do your people think what happened to David was a deliberate attack? Noble's competitors have been trying to get to David for years. And that's the time scale their plans operate on. If this was an attack from a rival corporation, the company would have seen it coming, and they'd probably have struck first. So that means that we can expect this to be personal because Noble would have taken better care of David. Gotcha. What's up with the cups? I've been curious about this ever since I saw the scene. Why the plastic cups? There's a story there. David and I got hired around the same time under similar circumstances. Headhunted while finishing our higher education. During recruiting, the company claimed to want us badly, but in practice our actual authority was inexperienced and overpaid. You must have been extremely unpopular. You don't mince words. We didn't either back then. We were loudly trying to convince our superiors that our entire sales model for androids was antiquated and self-defeating. The two of them made the one-point doctrine? That's not the story I've heard in Noble commercials and Noble-sponsored media. And come to think of it, it's not a story I ever heard from David himself. We had this deadline, self-imposed but still a deadline. We wanted to get our pitch to the President of International Sales by the end of the day. 7 PM rolls around and people start filtering out. David still has his head buried in diagrams and sales figures. Imagine a technical man like him, a programmer, trying to make a sales pitch. The clock hits 9 o'clock, and even the zombies start heading home. I turn to David, tell him that it's not gonna happen. We're nowhere near finished, and the day's long since been over. He looked at me like I'm the only other person on a sinking boat, and I've stopped pitching water, and he says, "The president lives on the other side of the globe. We've still got all night until the end of his day." We wrapped up at 4 in the morning, just us and the cleaning staff. Back then only half of them were ads. He finally sends the message, and I'm ready to collapse. I've got nothing. We stared blankly at his inbox for the next 40 minutes, hoping that the harsh light would give us the energy to work through the next day. And we got a response. It wasn't long, but it showed he was interested. I had been turned down so many times before then, ignored and placated, passed up and ghosted, but together, David and we had finally gotten a win. So David asks if I've got anything to drink. I've got a bottle of swill in a cabinet at my desk, but he doesn't want to drink from the bottle. He says he wants to toast. So we sat there at 5:19 in the morning, toasting awful vodka to one another in cups we grabbed from the break room. Toasting our first court victory against the corporate beast. Between the lack of sleep and the drinking, the next day at work was hell. Sounds like a good memory. Plastic cups and liquor. That was our little ritual. David Asher and Helen Jung started at Noble at the same time and position. They would often toast their hard-won victories with cheap liquor in plastic cups, in commemoration for their first big win, convincing Noble Electronics to adopt what became known as the one-point doctrine approach to Android manufacturing, emphasizing quality over quantity. Counter-corporate espionage, a playbook of aggressive defensive tactics for everything from public life to personal security, intended to help high-value members of a corporate body minimize risk to themselves and the company. Frequently involves the use of double-talk and coded language, including hiding the training as leadership workshops or psychiatric evaluations. Individuals at or above David Asher and Helen Jung receive training in it multiple times a year. So confidential data. It's not directly related, but it could be useful in court. So I didn't think twice when he presented me with my cup. Jung's cup, a plastic cup with a small amount of whiskey left in it, found upright on the dining table at the scene of the crime. Saliva and fingerprints match Helen Jung, contains no traces of foreign elements. It was ceremony for us. History with Noble. Tell me about your company. As VP of Android Futures, you're David's superior, aren't you? That's correct. Didn't you join the company at around the same time? David was always more interested in his work than he was in climbing the ladder. He didn't like playing the corporate politics game. So was he unpopular around here? Not unpopular, no, not the great Dr. David Asher. Misunderstood, perhaps. How so? He could be blunt. Demanding, some might say. He wasn't trying to be, it's just not everyone could work at the same pace he did for as long as he did. Even with the whole company huffing those inhalers, they couldn't keep pace with David? Speaking of which, I don't see any at Jung's desk. Maybe it's just not something you leave out in the open at her level. So we'd say that his work-life balance was... Balance implies the two are at odds with one another. We use work-life harmony here at the company. Fascinating. So was he in harmony? No, David always had plenty of suitors, but he was never willing to put the time in. But I'm sure you're more knowledgeable than I am on the subject. Right. What do you mean? I had to help him draft a lot of apology notes over the years for Misunderstandings and double bookings. Scandalous. Animate 16. The A16 only entered production this year, correct? Correct. Pre-orders started last holidays and we began shipping in the first quarter. I understand you were instrumental in the success of Warm Androids. I played my part supervising the launch, yes. Weren't you the one who designed serotonin, the factor that enabled communication between synthetic and organic parts? I'm surprised you've heard of that. I did lead that project, yes, but that was years ago. At the time, serotonin was little more than a novelty, a dead end. It wasn't until David took the reins on the A16 that we found a use for it. Took the reins? He was the lead programmer on limb coordination, facial expression, exhaustion parameters, and he designed the synthetic nerves that made all of that possible. David did all of that? That's a lot more than programming. Was he always so gifted in that many fields? It would explain why he took just about every subject in college. Did he fill those roles on A14 or A15? No. He used to stick steadfast to his role as a software architect. That was his field of expertise, he didn't wander far. But 2 or 3 years back, he started sitting in on other departments, taking notes. Soon he was joining the discussion, proposing new ideas, and eventually they came to follow his lead. Just like that. Just like that. So he just applied himself and soon he was leading other departments? That's the kind of genius that Dr. David Asher was. Maybe they weren't paying him enough. The company profited the most, of course, but entirely industry benefited from his vision and leadership. His loss will be felt for years. Okay, let's change the subject. What can you tell us about this weirdo? So this android, Sarah. Even Dawes couldn't find any real details on where it came from. It's not in any of our systems? I'm afraid not. Did David ever talk to you or anyone else at the company about a pet project? Pet? No, he never gave me any indication of like that. And if he didn't talk to me about it, I seriously doubt he confided in anyone else at the company. David didn't trust anyone higher on the chain than himself, and anyone below him. Frankly, they couldn't possibly hope to give him good advice. We've already passed 50 credit. He never mentioned me? No, never. Androids don't come cheap. You never heard about him requisitioning parts or resources? There were never any discrepancies with his company credit card? The company's accountants are mirthless, even by industry standards. They wouldn't humor anybody. Not even David Asher. If they had ever detected financial discrepancies, there would have been an uproar loud enough you could hear it in the mailroom. You have a mailroom! Not since the 30s, just a figure of speech. She looks so depressed that they don't have a mailroom anymore. He couldn't have taken resources from the company without leaving a record. But no one would deny Dr. David Asher information. He would have been able to obtain all the necessary data to build his own android. Then, with enough time and money, he could privately purchase the raw materials himself. I don't understand it. It must have taken him years to build Sarah. He wasn't doing anything illegal, except the hacking stuff. So why keep it a secret? I don't know. But he was private and a perfectionist. Perhaps he simply wasn't proud of his results. Oh, that's a crushing thing to say. Could be. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. We have witness testimony. Jung's statements made by the police corroborated by the security footage. Jung arrived at 7:30 p.m. and remained on camera until 8:03 p.m. Jung spoke with David Asher in his parlor before he left to retrieve liquor from his basement at 7:36. Upon returning at 7:40, the two of them continued speaking while they both drank from the plastic cups David Asher brought up with him. He felt lethargic and disoriented shortly after 8 p.m. He lost consciousness at 8:03. EMS were called from the emergency console in the kitchen at 8:04. David Asher and the witness were taken to Gacefield Memorial Hospital at 8:08. I don't feel like this is Jung's doing, unless, at least not now. It's possible we might find motive later, but it doesn't feel like she has motive. Because, right, suppose the easy option is she's doing this because of envy and jealousy, that she never got credit for work that she shared with David. But if that were the case, you'd think that she'd start making moves to give herself more credit for the things that she actually worked on, but no, she is absolutely giving David his credit. When said, "You worked on it with David," she said, "No, that was mainly David's expertise. I didn't do much." I know, Jung just doesn't seem like she's a culprit material. The problem is that we're still making no progress in moving away from a suicide here. Anyhow, well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I'm sure this has been a difficult day for you. A difficult day for all of us. A message from Fran? Oh, did I hear a ping? I'm running out of leads to chase. The brat better have good news. It'll be nice to move away from having two serious women to voice because I don't have much to diversify them without giving one of them an accent. And neither of them looks Scottish. Are you really going to take this to court? That's my plan. The circumstances may be irregular, but I'm still defending a client from a criminal charge. It's my responsibility to argue that he's not guilty of what he's been accused of. And is that what you believe? That he didn't commit suicide? I guess I haven't decided what I believe. (4:21 p.m. July 1st, 2086. In transit. Would you kindly slow the hell down? I'm sorry, Adenoir. Was I walking too quickly for you? That wasn't walking. That was speed walking. Up 2 flights of stairs. It's very different. Speed walking. Sounds like a powerful technique. Is that like Zhenjiao? Just let me catch my breath for a minute. Adenoir, is it possible that you are out of shape? No. But since we left the cab, your heart has... I'm not wearing the right clothes. Or the right shoes. Is that so? Yes. Also, I didn't stretch or hydrate, and the sun's reaching its zenith. That would have been several hours ago. Do you mean the air temp... You said it would be a short walk from street level, so I prepared myself mentally for a short walk. Then you took off like a rocket, and you didn't mention we'd have to go upstairs. Are you sure this place is even back here? The reviews online were quite clear. It's worth the trouble finding it. Maybe if you're a mountain climber. When I sent Fran hunting for a musician in David's circles, I expected them to bring me someone from the city orchestra or a jazz club. Them? A champagne, flute, and teacup kind of musician. But this is a tequila and neon part of town. It should be in view if we turn. Adenoir, be careful. Of what? It's a stray, and it's bearing its fangs too. It could be carrying diseases. You should... Relax. Adenoir, it's growling. It's not growling at me. See? So it's just me that it doesn't like. Too much static. How'd you get it to calm down? It's an animal, not a monster. It wants to be calm. Do you like animals? What kind of cold-blooded freak doesn't like animals? Do you have a pet? No, never have. Why not? Because I don't want to take care of a pet. That seems counterintuitive to me. Well, it makes perfect sense to me, and I don't need it to make sense to you. But you notice you're only this talkative when it's just the two of us? Just an observation. It's almost like she's here to fill in dead time or something, like an assistant character. You shy or something? Did David program you to have android anxiety? It's generally only appropriate to respond to the comments that are addressed to oneself. Today, I have rarely been addressed directly by people other than you. In other words, you're shy. That is not what I... Can I try petting it? There's no law against it. 4:26 p.m. July 1st, 2086. Ultraviolets. This is the establishment. Now to see if Isaac Porter is as habitual as Fran claims. Do you think Father was close with this man? This man you've never met? I think he was close with him, yeah. At some point. I had some help making that deduction. Fran saw that their metadata showed a significant pooling of interaction between the two of them, particularly over the past month. But Fran also saw a phone call between the two last night. So they were close. Do you think they were sleeping together? That is completely inappropriate for me or anyone to speculate about. Inappropriate? Adenoir, it's only... I'm getting a very important text message from my private investigator. Excuse me. Did you catch the killer yet? No. What the hell? I sent you his POS. I'm at his position. I haven't spoken to Porter yet. Anyway, there's no reason to suspect him right now. Lame! Surprised you're invested all of a sudden. Isn't David Ash a corporate sellout in your eyes? Everyone's a corporate sellout. But Asher gets respect. If I'm a demolitions expert, he's like a really good architect. That's almost sweet, I think. Asher started working out in Cube. So in the architect analogy, by today's standards he's like, IDK. As a kid he built all his bricks by hand. Or something. You know that lit homework can help you with forming analogies. Eat this analogy. Did that come through or did the characters break? The characters broke. It's supposed to be a guy giving you the finger. I take it Cube is a programming language. What's special about it? Pretty much anything coded in the last 20 years is web-based. You code with the assumption you'll always be connected. So you can depend on having fat libraries of references to lean on. And if something does go wrong, your errors get reported to you automatically. But not Cube? I actually do kind of get what they're talking about with the coding. You can look it up. But basically Cube was like for robotics and like machinery. Stuff that had to operate in mines. under the ocean, middle of nowhere fields with zero signal service. So Cube had to be self-sufficient. How rugged. Where'd Asher learn Cube anyway? It's older than dirt. From like the 40s. I don't know. I think his father had a machine shop or something. Vague. Yeah, well, David didn't like to talk about his family. And I never asked. What did your private investigator have to say, Adenoir? Not telling. Okay, this is actually a pretty good place to cut the episode. I'm gonna have to figure out what I've done horribly wrong by the time next episode rolls around, but hopefully this episode worked out. Hopefully. Until next time, guys, take care. I'll see you all around.